Did you know that around the world, an estimated 40 to 45% of children are born outside marriage? Although the percentages may vary from one country to another. Behind that statistics are children who began life facing rejection, shame, broken families, or circumstances they never chose or they never saw coming. So some people are judged even before they learn how to speak, and that is a reality of life. And some even grow up believing that they are less worthy because of how they were born. Some spend years trying to prove they deserve to belong. But what if I told you that one of the greatest champions of faith in the Bible began his life exactly in that position? Let that one sink. Welcome to the Bible today. Uh, this is a place where we learn, we discover the Bible is not just about people who lived thousands of years ago, but it's a reality. It's a mirror that is reflecting the struggles, the people, and the hopes of those who are living in the world today. Because the truth is this: many of us are living through circumstances that God's people experienced long before. Today's story, the story of Jephthah, it's about rejection, it's about resilience, it's about leadership, it's about faith, and it's about one decision that changed literally everything. This is the story of Jephthah. This is a rejected son who became Israel's deliverer. And from today's episode, we are going to have impactful lessons on personal growth and leadership. So you're most welcome. You can take that glass of water, you can take that juice, sit in a comfortable position, and listen. Now, who was Jephthah? In our previous video, we introduced the, the personality and the nature of this man called Jephthah. But the Bible introduces Jephthah with two shocking statements when you read the book of Judges, chapter number 11. The Bible says that Jephthah was a mighty warrior. And then it goes ahead to say that his mother was a prostitute. So there is an introduction that comes even before his birth. So imagine being introduced into the world like that, not because of your education, not because of your achievements, not because of your character, not because of your career or anything, but because of your mother's past. Yeah? So Jephthah never chose how he entered the world. Yet the society defined him by circumstances beyond his control. You see that this is something that is happening even in our world today. If I may ask you a question, how many people today know exactly what that one feels like? A large number of people. Children born into poverty, children abandoned by their parents, children raised in the streets, children rejected because of their tribal identity, their disability, their family history, or maybe circumstances that are surrounding their birth. And sometimes you see the world gives labels, yeah? But God Himself doesn't look at labels, He looks at purpose. Because you seeing the way the God is introducing Jephthah in Judges 11:1, that Jephthah was a mighty warrior, right? So at first he wasn't the son of a prostitute. This God is defining him by his identity, by his uh, destiny, and by his purpose. And the second thing is the rejection that Jephthah faces in his own family. Is that relatable? Yeah, I know to some people watching this video, it's quite relatable. Now, Jephthah's greatest enemies weren't strangers. These were not his workmates. These were not his colleagues at work. These were not his fellow leaders. His greatest enemies were his own brothers. And you remember they told him what? You will never inherit our father's property. Imagine that. Most people get to experience that even in our world today. Not because you stole, not because you lied, but simply because of where you came from. Is that relatable? Yeah. So they drove him away. Many people watching this video have experienced this, right? Or something similar. And perhaps you are either rejected by family or maybe ignored by your relatives, or sometimes you are overlooked at work, yeah, or excluded by friends. We experience these at some point in life, I believe that. And one thing that Jephthah reminds us from this story is that rejection by people is not actually rejection by God, yeah. And sometimes God will prepare you and prepare your future away from familiar places. I want that one to sink. God will prepare you away from familiar places. And you're seeing where Jephthah is growing. You're seeing where he's building his capacity. It's not this environment where he was first introduced to and he was expecting love, he was expecting growth. And sometimes God will exceed your expectation. At first, it might look bad, but then the plan of God will remain just to be like that. But something happens. When you continue the story, Jephthah goes to the land of Tob after he has been chased away, right? And the Bible says this one very clearly, that a group of worthless men gathered around him. Let that one sink. Many translations, you will find they're using the words like outcasts, yeah, or adventurers. So think about this. You rejected by people naturally, and then most of the time you find yourself with rejected people. But then it's the decision that you make as an individual that truly counts, and what to do with the company in which you find yourself. Yeah? And Jephthah did not become a victim. Yeah? And he became their leader. This is what Jephthah does. In that place where he has been sent, he transformed these people who were broken into a force that were furious fighters. He transformed these broken people into great commanders of armies and great leaders. Now, this is what leadership is about. It's not controlling the perfect people, yeah? But this is what happens. Leadership, or real leadership, is in helping imperfect people discover purpose. Jephthah found these worthless men, and you will see by the time the elders are coming to him, the elders are not finding Jephthah with the worthless men. He is finding Jephthah with a great army around him. So actually, this is a lesson that every person need to learn. Every entrepreneur, every boss, every person in a leadership position, that it's not about controlling perfect people. If the people you're always managing or controlling are these people that have it all put together, then that is not genuine leadership. It is that point whereby you identify that the people you're leading are imperfect people, but then you discover what? You help them understand and discover their purpose. Okay? So this is what happens. Years later, Israel is facing a national crisis. A crisis is arising. So there is a season of preparation, but you are the one to decide. You have to prepare before the real crisis really gets to emerge. You're seeing a national crisis is emerging in Israel. The Ammonites have attacked, and suddenly The same elders who had chased Jephthah away came looking for him. Let me say this to somebody who has spent years investing in themselves, investing um, in their skills, investing in their relationship, investing in their education and in everything that they've been doing. Where you were rejected before, you are going to be accepted when you're working on yourself. So, isn't life interesting? You seeing that sometimes people reject you until they need what God placed inside you. At times, people reject that child of a prostitute until they need the mighty warrior that God had placed in you. Don't let that thing die. So, notice something that is quite remarkable. Jephthah doesn't respond with bitterness. He asks questions. Jephthah is seeking clarity and he is establishing accountability. Then he agrees to help them. This teaches us something profound. Remember when the elders came to him and he told the elders that if I defeat, then I am going to be head over all of you. This is what happens. Jephthah is asking them if they really agree, subscribe to his school of thought now. And they say yes. And he's not responding with bitterness. There's somebody who said at some point that emotions don't sign contracts. He's not responding with bitterness. He's asking questions. He's seeking clarity on the endeavor that he's supposed to take. And this one teaches us deeply about leadership. And then he's establishing accountability. And then after that, he's agreeing to help them. And this will teach us that forgiveness does not actually eliminate wisdom. You can forgive and still establish healthy boundaries around people. Yeah? And then we are seeing a leader who is choosing diplomacy first. You remember the approach that Jephthah is using in attacking the Ammonites. Before fighting them, he negotiated, he sent messengers, he explained Israel's history, he appealed to facts, he pursued peace with these people. Only after every peaceful option failed did he fight. That is what we call biblical leadership. In today's world, we often celebrate people who react fast. The Bible celebrates people who think fast. As a leader, do you take your time to think fast or you act fast before you think? Are you choosing diplomacy to go ahead before you take that action, before you fire that employee? Which approach are you using? Have you thought over it clearly? Have you asked questions? Have you sought clarity? Have you sought accountability to see how this matter has always been? And sometimes the strongest person in the room is the one who speaks calmly. You get it? And then we get to the vow that now ends up changing the script, or like literally changing everything. And before going into battle, Jephthah made a vow, and I think we're going to dwell here a little bit more. This vow sounded very spiritual. It sounded very passionate, but God never asked for it. After God gave him victory, his only daughter came out to meet him or to welcome him. Whether one understands the passage as like a literal sacrifice or like a dedication to service, whereby he gave his daughter into the Lord's service for the rest of her life, the message is unmistakable. Never make promises to God that God himself never asked you to make. Sometimes we negotiate with God. Oh Lord, if you bless me, I will this and that. Oh God, if you give me this job, this and that. If you heal my family, I'll do this, I'll do that. But remember, faith is not bargaining. And faith, one thing you need to understand, it's trusting. This is what happens. And most people act out of impulse, right? You hear about impulsive buying that leads people to credits, losses, and like everything. People make decisions out of impulse. People enter into relationships out of impulse. They just, it's like an excitement that is brooding over them. But one thing you need to understand when you get back to this script is that God desires obedience more than dramatic promises. Like, obedience is better than sacrifice. That's what the Bible tells us. And your greatest battle may come after your greatest victory. Because you're seeing that Jephthah has defeated the Ammonites. But shortly afterward, he faced conflict with fellow Israelites. So his greatest challenge wasn't always the enemy outside. Sometimes it was division within. Isn't that true? Like, even to date, families are divided, churches are divided, communities are divided, nations are divided. And sometimes the greatest battles among people will happen in families, in nations, in communities. And victory over external enemies gets to mean very little if we lose this unity that is within, right? And lessons we learn from this story of Jephthah. 3 unforgettable truths we get. The first one: your birth does not determine your destiny. People may define you by your past, but then God defines you by your purpose. Number 2, rejection is not the end of your story. Sometimes God uses rejection as preparation for your assignment. And finally, never ever allow success to replace wisdom. I'll say that again. Never allow success to replace wisdom. Jephthah's victories were not ordinary victories, but one impulsive decision brought his entire life down. Yeah, it brought a long life sorrow, losing the only daughter she had. Perhaps today you feel rejected, forgotten, or sometimes maybe misunderstood. Maybe people have labeled you because of where you came from. Remember Jephthah, the rejected child who ends up becoming a national leader. If God could use him, then God can certainly use you. So at this point, if you have not yet subscribed, friend, I'd like to invite you to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for watching the Bible today. If this message that I've just shared with you has blessed you, don't forget to like this video. Yeah, share it with a friend, and let's grow. Let's build a community together. And until next time, keep reading the word, keep growing in faith, and remember, the Bible is not just history. Yeah, it is God's living message for our lives, and it's as real can get. Bye bye, and see you next time. Thank you so much. I love you.